Hi, my name is Lena Lassiter, and I'm the president and founder of Forever Healed. Forever Healed is a nonprofit organization, and we help our clients who are suffering from pain of a loss of any kind. We help them to restore, we help them to recover, and we help them to reclaim their lives. And we do this in a number of different ways. We offer one-to-one grief recovery classes that are 7 weeks long, and they can be virtual or in person. We also offer 8 week grief recovery class group sessions. So, group sessions, 8 weeks. Um, and then we also go into corporations and we offer seminars, webinars, and we offer lunch and learns to talk about the hidden costs of grief in the workplace. I think employers are surprised to hear of the billions of dollars that they lose yearly as a result of the hidden cost of grief in the workplace. But more importantly, today, I want to talk about suppression of our feelings. So, again, my name is Lena Lassiter. I'm the founder and president of Forever Healed. I'm a licensed minister. I'm an advanced grief recovery method specialist. I'm educated in grief and trauma. And I'm currently enrolled in school, obtaining my master's, which I will graduate on next year. I'm in human service counseling with a concentration in PTSD, trauma, and of course, grief. So, why grief? The reason that grief is so important to me is that I had suppressed feelings for so many years of being abused at the hand of my mother. I didn't necessarily understand that it was grief, but I knew I went through some traumatic events that I didn't talk about until I was well into my 20s. My mother was 15 years old, so she was a child giving birth to a child. So, the child abuse that I endured was due to the stress, that she had during that time. But it was physical, verbal, and emotional abuse. So I had a hard time trusting people. I had a hard time connecting to people because you would think that a parent is the one who's supposed to nurture you, love you, protect you. And when that individual is the one who's causing you harm and pain, then you tend to put up walls and we suppress. So today I want to talk about suppression and how we can overcome our suppressed feelings. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what is grief? So grief is the normal and natural emotional reaction to loss or change of any kind. Of itself, grief is neither a pathological condition or a personality disorder. A better definition that I like is that grief is the conflicting feelings caused by the end of or change in a familiar pattern or behavior. So as you can see, it can be attributed to any type of loss and not just death. So when we go through the end of or change in a familiar pattern, our bodies are grieving. So right now, even during this pandemic, some of us have lost our normal patterns and we have to adapt to this normalcy, as it is right now. So the concept of grief is the most misunderstood and neglected growth process a person can go through. And I love the fact that we talk about grief being a growth process because we learn something new about ourselves as we go through this process. And sometimes we could be learning something new about an individual, right? We can be teaching people how to treat us during this time. So it's definitely a growth process that we go through. We were taught from our earliest ages that sad, painful, or negative feelings were to be avoided at all costs. So I just want to give you a little visual of how we have gotten here and how grief is the most misunderstood growth process that we can go through. I'm going to use this backpack, and this backpack is going to represent our lives, okay? And then I have 2-pound weights here. Now, the 2-pound weights aren't heavy, but let's talk about how they start to add up to become heavy. So as a kid, and some of us as parents may have done this. So if our children hurt themselves, they're riding their bicycles and they scrape their little knee, we might kiss the little boo-boo, put a Band-Aid on it, and then we may cook something, bake cookies, right? So then we're taught to eat and not feel. So now we're putting that in our backpack of life because we weren't asked how we felt, right? To talk about the pain associated with that injury. And then we lose a pet. And what do most of us do, or what have our parents done in the past? We go out and get another one, right? So if your dog passed away, your cat passed away, you lost some fish, whatever your pets were, your childhood pets, they were probably replaced, right? So then we learn how to replace things, right? But we still haven't talked about our feelings. Now, that heartbreak. How many of you guys can remember that first heartbreak? So you go through that heartbreak and people will say, well, it's their loss and there's more fish in the sea. Well, that's true, but nobody asked you how you are feeling, how you feel. And then we wonder how we end up with the same person over and over and over again, and they just have different names, right? Because we haven't dealt with the pain of that breakup. So now we add that weight to our backpack of life. And think about everything else that has gone on during this time, right? So bullying, if you have relocated several times, right? If your family was in the military, so then you're adding all of this to your backpack of life. Now, guess what? Those weights are getting heavy. So then we fast forward and you lose someone and your employer gives you bereavement time. Well, what exactly is bereavement time? Bereavement time is that time that you are going to need to make arrangements, find insurance policies, all of that, right? And then you still may be in a state of disbelief at the loss. So again, and they give you 3 to 5 business days, right, of bereavement time. Then we learn to get over it, right? So now this backpack of life is extremely heavy. So again, we haven't addressed our feelings. So now we're suppressing. And just like that pot of steam, once that lid comes off, right, you can have an explosion of steam. So that's what happens with our emotions. We have all these things suppressed, and then you feel like something small or minor happens and we explode. It's because we have suppressed those feelings for so many years. So suppressing your emotions, whether it's anger, sadness, grief, or frustration, it can lead to physical stress on our bodies. And avoiding emotions can also lead to problems with our memory, aggression, anxiety, and depression. So these are harmful things that happens when we suppress our emotions. Repression, on the other hand, involves the unwanted impulses or thoughts being unconsciously pushed out of awareness. So suppression occurs when a person consciously tries to force these feelings out of awareness, right? Suppression is purposefully trying to forget or not think about painful or unwanted thoughts. So again, suppression occurs when a person consciously, so we're trying to force out these feelings. We don't want to feel them. But it's suppression. You are purposely trying to forget or not think about painful or unwanted thoughts. Okay? So repression is unconsciously, you're pushing them out. Suppression, we are trying to do it. So for years, I did not want to think about the pain that I endured as a child. So I just pushed those feelings down. Some of us have just unconsciously pushed some feelings down, and that's repression. So overcoming grief. If the thought of loss brings your heart pain, disappointment, and unresolved waves of emotion, guess what? It's time to take your life back. So overcoming grief. You can't go under it. You can't go around it. You must go through it. Recovery means finding new meaning for living, acquiring the skills that we should have been taught in childhood so that we can reclaim our lives, we can restore our lives, so that we can feel better, so that we can recover. So here's how we can serve you. Through seminars and classes, again, in person and virtual. So grief in the workplace, awareness and education are key in helping your employees cope with loss. Grief recovery classes, they help to move you beyond your pain. Our programs offer you the probability of a richer and more rewarding life. And we also do grief in the church, because the church often plays an important role in helping with loss. So schedule a grief awareness session with us. Reach out to us. Email foreverhealedllc@gmail.com. You can call us at 804-684-1113. And on social media, we are Forever Healed, 2 words, on Facebook and Instagram. And on Twitter, we're at the number 4Ever Healed. So we look forward to hearing from you. We look forward to helping you to restore. We look forward to helping you to recover.